Howdy folks. So before you start wondering why I'm talking about an old kitchen appliance here, I want to mention that as you may notice if you have a high-speed internet connection, I got a new camera. So I am now shooting with a new camera. It's the Canon Vixia HFR 700. New camera. I'm going to be shooting everything in 60 frames per second, full HD. And I also have a completely new video editing pipeline. Basically, I have new application. I finally reinstalled my desktop, got the new version of Kdenlive. So I've changed all that stuff. So this is primarily a test video, just to sort of see how everything works out. I have a monitor now in front of me so I can actually see what's in frame while I'm filming, which is really nice. Before I had to basically shoot blind because I couldn't even see the LCD on the old camera from the angle I was shooting at. So as you can see, I'm shooting off to the side now because the angle of this lens is a little bit different than my last camera. So tell me if this is better or worse than before. And I'll try and, over the next few videos, make this better. But it's got optical image stabilization, so it works really well handheld. So that's going to help in the future. Although I do have plans to do a lot of non-filmed videos. So it's not going to help with those. But anyway, I just couldn't help myself. I wanted a new toy, so I bought a camera. So anyway, with that out of the way, the subject of today's video, I was actually at I was going thrifting, and I was at a Goodwill, and I saw this thing, and it was just so cute. I couldn't pass it up. This is a Sunbeam MixMaster model HMD-1. This dates probably early 1960s. The best date that I can come up with is 1962. Would have been when this is manufactured, and it actually says on the bottom, this was made in Canada, patented in 1962. So I'm not sure if the people online are just getting the date from the patent, or if this actually was the year they started making these. I don't know. But anyway, it actually was complete, came with the beaters, and it was $4. I just couldn't say no to it. I love this kind of old vintage stuff. And the first thing that struck me was, I mean, first of all, how small it is. You compare it to the size of my hand. It's not nearly as large as some of the modern mixers. But the thing that's really struck me is how incredibly heavy this is. You can see the entire bottom is just solid metal. And actually, let me get my scale, and I want to see how heavy this thing actually is. So just a little kitchen scale here. So it's 1.1 kilograms, and I'd say it probably weighs at least twice what the modern garbage they sell weighs. So yeah, that to me was just too nice. It's got a little beater ejector. It's very, very, very low tech. I mean, it's literally just some rods that come out and push on these little metal discs, and it's got a little turquoise switch, and it's got 3 speeds and off, and that's about it. And I tried this out in the store, and the switch was a bit dicky. It worked, but it was you had to kind of fiddle with it to get it working properly. So I just assumed it was probably dirty. The other thing that was kind of strange was the cord. This is a Sunbeam cord, so it could be original, but the thing is, it has this hole here, and there was actually a piece of literally looked like handmade plastic shoved in here. So according to the photos online, there actually used to be a socket here, and this had a plug-in cord that was removable, and I think probably the previous owner broke that, and they tried to make their own, and they hardwired the cable in. So I've had this apart. I've actually sort of fixed this. I fixed the switch, and I ran the cord out through one of the vent holes back here because it allows me to do strain relief a lot nicer, and I haven't really bothered to blank that out because I really don't need to. But anyway, I thought I might as well take this apart and show you just what kind of build quality sort of there was common back in the early 60s. I mean, the MixMaster name is actually still used to this day, although Sunbeam is, you know, just a shell of its former self. But yeah, these things. Anyway, I need to stop waffling. Let's get the bottom cover off. So it's got 2 screws on the back, and then the other 2 screws are underneath this plate. So the way that I think you're supposed to remove this is you kind of bend this down, and this comes off, and it's just a metal plate, and they've glued the Sunbeam logo on, and it still looks like it's got the original glue, so that's nice. And you can sort of see the beginnings of what's inside here. So it's pretty much just a metal rod that attaches to this button and pushes this down. It's just got a little spring here, and nothing too exciting there. You can see some grease is kind of leaking out of this. This is the gearbox, obviously. The motor is going to be obviously this way. So let me get those last 2 screws out. Okay, so now I should probably have to take the plastic off there, and the top comes off. And there we are. Okay, so we'll start with the least interesting thing, and of course that would be the top cover. So this is all just one piece of plastic, and it's kind of disgusting inside. This is after I cleaned it. You don't want to see what 54 years of, well, probably wasn't used for all 54 years. It could have been, I don't know. But 54 years of use looks like on the inside. You can see there is some cracking on the surface of the inside, and my theory behind that is, I mean, it could just be the way the plastic is aging, but it also could be the ultraviolet from the brushes, because of course this is a brushed DC motor, and this was sort of long before we started adding chemicals to plastics to add ultraviolet resistance, because of course when as the com bars spin, the brushes and the com bars, they make and break contact as they go around, and they create little arcs, which of course have a high UV output, so the plastic will deteriorate faster around there than anywhere else. So that could be what that is, but otherwise it's just a piece of plastic. It's not terribly exciting. What is interesting, of course, is the unit itself. So as you can see, I've done a bit of repair work here. I added this. This, of course, was not here. There should have been a socket here. But they've got a little piece of what looks like it was originally rubber, and it just went over this metal piece here, obviously to stop anything from shorting out, because of course the plug would have been on the other side of this. But I've just wire nutted this to the switch, and this cord may have actually been the original. It does say Sunbeam on it, so this was either officially repaired or they just hacked the end off of it and put it in like this, which I think is probably more likely. So hopefully that's a little bit better. I moved the lights around. I don't have enough lighting, unfortunately. I'm trying to, like I said, it's a new camera. I'm trying to figure out what works. I've only got a little desk lamp and another little standalone lamp, and that's not enough light, especially when I film late at night like this, where there's absolutely zero natural light. So I will try to deal with that. But anyway, hopefully you can see this a bit better. The ejector here is just basically just a bare piece of metal, and you can actually pull that all the way through if you wanted to. So we've got the motor here, which takes up a pretty decent amount of the space inside this thing, and of course the motor is not it's not an off-the-shelf part. It's actually built in specifically for this, which you see in modern mixers. I have taken apart at least one modern mixer in my life, and they usually cut costs as much as possible by making as much of the motor housing into the plastic molding as possible. And they've done a very similar thing here. However, it's not plastic. It's actually, all of this is metal. Everything in this is metal. The entire gearbox is metal. I mean, the only plastic in this entire thing is this cover and the little button tops. That's really the only thing that's plastic in this. So, of course, that's why it weighs over a kilogram. So you can see the brushes here, and the brushes actually appear to be in pretty decent shape, actually. I don't see any issues with that at all. I did clean up the com bars. You can see the com bars are still dirty. I tried to get as much off as I could with sandpaper, but didn't work out all too well. Actually, why do I keep doing this? I definitely can just zoom in. Yeah, this looks way better, doesn't it? Keep forgetting that I have actual proper zoom in this camera. So yeah, I cleaned the com bars up, and it looks a lot better than it did before. It runs fine. I could definitely clean that up more if I wanted to, but I'm just not going to bother. And this is a piece of what I'm assuming was possibly rubber at one point. It seems a bit too stiff to be rubber. It could be some sort of cardboard that's been infused with something. That's kind of my guess. And they're using this as a fan shroud. Of course, we've got the single directional fan here for cooling the motor, and they've put this as a shroud. It fits into little slots on either side here, and they've got a cutout here where these wires are supposed to go through, so this seals all inside of this. There's actually a groove you can see where it's supposed to sit up against. And as you can see, it's all deformed, and it's because the person who repaired this originally didn't bother to put this cabling in that slot, and it got all mushed. So I kind of unmushed it as much as I could, but it's kind of permanently bent that way. Who knows how many decades it's been mushed like that, so I don't know. And here's the switch. Again, we've got the 3 taps on this side, and the indents on this side, with the very, very simple switch. I mean, it's ridiculous how simple that is. And it's like I said, it's just a piece of phenolic, and it just sits into little notches on the gearbox, and there is a corresponding notch in the top of the plastic here, and that's what's used to keep this from sliding back and forth when you refund the switch. And it seems to have held up perfectly fine for how incredibly simple it is. Of course, things like this, with mains on them, this close to metal that's ungrounded, of course, this is not a grounded appliance. All this kind of stuff would not fly in modern safety standards. This would not be UL approved in modern day. And of course, if you do ever buy vintage stuff like this, make sure you unplug it the second you stop using it, because there's no need to leave it plugged in, and all you're doing is just, you're opening yourself up to risk. I mean, I've looked at the wiring. None of the wiring is, decrepit. It is old. It is stiff, but it's not cracking. The insulation is still okay. And I've done, I redid the entire job, got new wire nuts. I didn't trust any of those repairs that were done by whoever before me, and it all looks fine. So anyway, let's take a look inside the gearbox. That's, like I said, I took this apart and I fixed this earlier, but I did not take apart the gearbox. So I have not seen what's inside there, and I would like to see. Now, what's interesting to note is there are 4 screws on this, and 3 of them are flathead, but this one is a Robertson. So this is clearly, someone clearly opened this at one point in the past, and they obviously lost the screw. So I am kind of afraid as to what I'm going to find. So I've got the screws out, and keep remembering considering the camera's on this side, so I might as well do that. So let's see what is inside here other than a shit ton of grease like I expect. Okay, so this is sort of exactly what I would expect. It does look a little bit nasty in there, but I mean, what do you expect? It does have grease in it, which is good. So they've attempted to seal this here. I'm going to get grease on everything, aren't I? They have a cloth seal here where the motor goes, and that seems to have done a good job because I don't see any grease that's leaked past this point here. So I'm not going to bother to replace the grease or anything like that. It's a mixer. I mean, it really shouldn't matter that much. But we've just got a worm gear here, and I don't remember what those gears are called. I am not, like I said, I've said this before, I am not a mechanically savvy person, so I don't entirely know what I'm talking about whenever it comes to this kind of stuff. But yeah, of course they both spin in opposite directions like any good mixer. I'm pretty sure every mixer probably has used this exact same style. Interesting to note that these gears appear to be plastic. The shaft, of course, the worm gear in the center is all metal as it goes through the motor, but these are plastic gears, which I think is kind of interesting. I mean, they've got metal inserts inside of them, but it's a plastic, looks like it's either press fit or it's molded onto the metal insert. But yeah, the teeth are plastic, which I was not expecting. I mean, given how metal everything was in this, I was not expecting those to be plastic at all. But I mean, they look to be in perfectly good condition. There's no missing teeth. There doesn't look to be any giant gouges on them. So, I mean, it seems to have worked perfectly fine. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. I don't know what kind of bearing that is, to be honest. It could be, it doesn't even look like a bearing at all. It could just be like a brass sleeve or something that they're using, because I don't see a bearing on either side. I don't see one on the back of the motor either. So that's interesting. But I mean, whatever it is, it's held up quite well over 54 years. So how can I complain about it? So really, I'm not going to bother to touch this. I want to get as little grease on me as possible. So I'm just going to put this right back together the way it was. You know, the one thing that I don't miss about this vintage stuff is the flathead screws. I mean, everybody moved away from flathead, and I am so happy about that because, man, flatheads suck. I mean, Phillips strips a lot, but Phillips is designed to strip. I mean, it's completely obsolete. I mean, we have machines that, you know, can measure the force they're putting on the screw. So Phillips is kind of stupid nowadays, but it's flathead is just terrible. I mean, it just your bit slips out if you're at even slightly the wrong angle. So anyway, so everything looks good. So let's put it back together, and I'll fire it up. I'm gonna get that direction control wrong every single time for the next year, especially because the camera's behind me, so it's reversed to what it should be. So it's just got two tabs on this side and a tab on the top, and this thing, as you can see, is bent to hell. I have no idea what happened in the past, but I think whoever repaired this had no idea how to get this thing apart when they took it apart, and they mangled it. So I got it as good as it can be. When I got this thing, this actually fell off. So not anymore. You really have to kind of bend it to get it on. or to get it off. So I think it'll do just fine. As long as it doesn't end up in whatever I'm baking, I'm okay. So there we go. It's all back together. So yeah, let's fire this thing up, because this thing is really not that fast. As you can see here, it's only rated 120 volts AC or DC, 100 watts. So most modern mixers are 2 or even 3 times that. So this thing is not as powerful. But the thing is, I sort of maintain the fact that it doesn't really matter. I mean, most modern mixers will do like warp 9, and I mean, you're never going to use that speed. I remember using one of the newer ones that I had, and literally I would just use it on like the lowest speed, because you know, it didn't completely ruin whatever I was mixing. So let's plug this in, and it just so happens I have a power meter. So let's see what it measures on the power meter. So the low speed is, in fact, quite a low speed. And if I can read the power meter from here, that looks like 45 watts. Medium speed is 55 watts, so it's only 10 watts extra for that. And then the high speed, which is, I mean, this is really the fastest I'd ever want it to be. And that's about 65 watts. So obviously the 100 watts must be from the just from under load. Probably you know, if you stalled it or something, it would go up that high. I'm not going to try and do that, but yeah. And the nice thing is, you can smell. It smells like brushless motor. It's got that really nice ozone-y type smell to it, and you know, I love that smell. It exhausts that quite readily from the back. So, but it's a healthy smell. It's not dying or anything. So yeah, that is a. Why am I doing that? As an injector. It's late. I should go to bed, but I just wanted to try out something with this camera, and I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, so it was this. So anyway, hopefully that was interesting to at least one person out there, so then I can say that this video wasn't a complete waste of my time. But hey, I learned where I needed to put the light, so I guess it was useful for that. Anyway, thanks for watching.